So
Okay, perfect.
everybody, excited to introduce you to Marguerite today. There are a lot of, I've done this event a few times. We do like over 100 events a year, but this event actually has more new presenters that I'm just working with for the first time, including Foster Gamble, Zayla, Marguerite, and many others. And I've really attempted to make this event in a way that we bring on even Flo and Tarek to bring on new uh, people to the platform, not new into the work. There's a lot of these people have been doing it for so long, so that we could start exploring possibilities with each other and really implement what it's all about, which is the conscious collaboration and just getting more and more people involved in this. So Marguerite is one of these individuals. Normally, it takes me a long time to vet people, but when I got the email of Marguerite's resume, so to speak, of all the things she was into, I was like, check, 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 check. I'm into all of that. And even some of them I'm currently researching. So I pretty much just watched a couple of videos, made sure like I was in alignment with her, and immediately responded and said, all right, how do we do this? Let's make this happen. And I already have around, we have 2 webinars scheduled. One's on ancient Greece, one's on the Immaculate Conception, which I think we're going to be going into today. And then there's a third one I'm going to approach her about as well next year. So extremely excited to just introduce you to her. And Joan, why don't you give us a little bit more about Marguerite?
Oh my God. Okay, so she's a first timer, which is very exciting. So Marguerite Rigoglioso is the founding director of Seven Sisters Mystery School and a scholar practitioner of the ancient Mediterranean mystery traditions. The world's foremost authority, guys, on virgin birth. She is the author of the mystery tradition of miraculous conception, Mary and the lineage of virgin births, as well as the cult of divine birth in ancient Greece and virgin mother goddesses of antiquity. These groundbreaking books reveal an entire suppressed history of holy women who engaged in the practice of divine conception throughout the ancient Mediterranean world and cast Mother Mary in a completely new light. As a teacher and a mentor with Seven Sisters Mystery School, she works one-on-one and with groups to help people develop their deep intuition, their unique spiritual path, and their sacred careers. So thus she offers evolutionary online courses such as the Mother Mary Mystery Teachings, the Priestess of the Dove Oracle Training, the Holy Womb Chakra Teachings, the Divine Birth Mysteries audio series, the Awakening to Our Fairykin course, and a whole lot more. So she has a huge biography, but we're just really happy to introduce Marguerite. I feel like I've already met you before.
Welcome, Marguerite.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I just feel totally moved to tears to be here and to have heard the presenter just before me and to just sense into what you're up to here, Neil and Joan, and I'm sure, a team of people. I'm so honored to be here. A warm welcome to everybody watching live and who's going to be looking in replay. Wow, we are really up to some major, major things here, aren't we?
Yes, definitely.
Neil has managed what he says he puts together groups of his favorite people on the planet to learn whatever subjects is piquing his interest. And I think that's what makes Portal to Ascension so exciting, because his interests are that high.
Yeah.
And this is really a full circle. This conference is, we do different events and workshops that are specific topics, but this one, you get to explore the range of really information that we go into here today, which is why I'm really excited to have you on, because you present on so many different things, but it's angles that usually, you don't hear off that much off, especially in the conscious community at conferences and things like that. So why don't we start, Marguerite, with you just giving us a little bit summary of just your journey and how you got to this point, and then we can go deeper into some of your topics.
Yeah, taking a deep breath here. As always, this journey begins in previous lives. And so we're starting to tap into what are those lives, what did we sign up for? Who are we really? And as my life has unfolded, I realized that, gosh, I've had many many lives in which I've been friend and foe, learning all different sorts of things, having different existences on planet, off planet, and now kind of coming back at this great momentous time on the earth to help weave it all together and help us collectively get to our next stage. In my biological life, in this lifetime, I had a really big initiation into my spiritual work, which was the death of my mother when I was 10 years old. And that type of a thing brings you in contact with the mystery of the death realms and the other world in a way that it took me a while to figure out. And, but that kind of underworld experience was really my initiation into the inner dimensions, into the underworld also in specific, which is a place of loamy darkness, but also evil, and so I've been navigating all these realms for a long time, for decades now. My education, my master's and PhD is from the California Institute of Integral Studies. And that was really a wonderful launching pad for me, for my various strands of my life's work, which again, as you said, has to do with unveiling divine birth as an actual practice of women, priestesses, and also off-planet beings who have helped seed humanity, namely the seven sisters of the Pleiades. That's a whole huge topic that I know, Neil, is a little bit dear to your heart. And then so many other topics. The fairy material that I've been introduced to is coming up big time, because what is New Earth? It's nothing but moving into the realm of the fairies, the she, the subtle beings. Most of the people in these groups, in these New Earth groups, you look around at them and they're fairy human hybrids. Okay. Some of them look so fairy that I'm like, are you even human? And I mean, this is what's happening right now. Okay. So the bleed through is big, major. And I started Seven Sisters Mystery School in 2012. It was really a weave of all of my esoteric material, my academic material. And it's just been a kind of a cornucopia, like an endless cornucopia of things that are coming out of me on all of these different topics, to really help people move into the new earth now. Now it's becoming clear. I was also told in a medicine ceremony that I did a number of years ago, something that, I thought I'll never say this publicly, but I received that I was a Pleiadian ambassador. Okay, literally those words came to me. I was like, what the heck? And then I started finding that there were people like Christine Day and others who, call themselves Pleiadian ambassadors. And, my research and angle into the Pleiades has really been ancient Greece and the women's mystery tradition of divine birth. So we can talk more about that, but that's kind of a little brief touchstone. There's so much more that can be said, but I know we want to get into the topics.
God, you have so many topics. I'm already awed. It's like I go, oh my God, the fairies, wait. And then there's the goddesses. So, but let's start, I think, and Neil would probably agree, with the seven sisters of the Pleiades then, and of your mystery school and what that's actually like.
Yeah. Well, the name, the Seven Sisters Mystery School, came to me in the shower because I had been doing all of this research on the Pleiades, the seven sisters, who are basically the seven starseed mothers of the world. Alcuone, Kelaino, Merope, Sterope, Maya, Electra. And there's always one that I forget, but there's another, Taugete. Okay. These are the seven starseed mothers of the world. Their DNA is in everyone, according to what I've learned. Okay. The ancient Greeks talked about this. This is an African origin story, and every continent of the world has these stories that they come from the Pleiades, or that the seven sisters are their seven mothers. This is the literal seven mothers of the world that Brian Sykes talks about as being, all related. And so that's huge. That's important. And what do we find out? They were virgins. Okay. They were virgin beings, virgin off-planet starseed beings that somehow were able to connect into the three-dimensional earth, or whatever dimension it was operating on at the time. But there was a gash in the story. Okay. And we can go into that, but that's the basis of my mystery school was really all of that research that I'd done into the Seven Sisters. And so it was a natural to name my school that. And a mystery school, as we know, has to do with going into the deeper conundrums, mysteries, things beyond the 3D, things in the deeper dimensions, all of these types of things, learnings that really you can only get on the inner dimensions, even if you have a teacher who is stimulating you. This is an inner knowing. That's what a mystery school is. So I'm here to just stimulate people's inner knowing with all of the courses I've done. So I'll pause there and see where you want to go from there.
It goes so deep. There's so many layers here. I have a million questions. So firstly, I've heard like in a lot of books, like the Prism of Lyra, and then also Bringers of the Dawn, they talk about the Pleiadians being the original Earthlings, right? And that they came here before humanity was seeded like this. You just mentioned saying these seven sisters were actually actual beings. So do you mean that literally that these were actual beings that came here, seven individual sisters that had virgin births on Earth and seeded us? Or were they like, and were they all from a specific star system within the Pleiades? Or was they a group of people from each star system?
That is a really, really good question, Neil. And I would say that I don't know. Probably some of the information will start filtering into me in the Oracle space as we talk. And I think this reconstruction is actually a collective thing that needs to happen. We need to figure this out together. You're going to get intuitions. Joan, you are, all the listeners everywhere. I think this is an uncharted territory. We're hearing a lot about hidden histories of humanity. And we're trying to all put it all together and figure out, well, what are the timelines? When did this happen versus, were they actual physical humans? What we know is that each star in the Pleiades, there's 7 stars, is the name of one of those women that I said. So Neil, you may well be right that this is like a grouping. Taugete represents a grouping. Electra represents a grouping. Electra being the one who helped seed the people who were in Troy, okay, the first layers of Troy. Maya, who's the one who brought in Thoth in one of his incarnations as Hermes, okay. So these are such deep histories, and I think that even thinking about this starts opening up all of our oracle spaces and starting to downpour the information, right? So I'll pause there.
Yeah, so like there's stories that Adam and Eve could have actually been groups of civilizations rather than like, the conventional biblical thing. And so it kind of resonates with me on that level. But I'm actually getting kind of like some chills here, some goosebumps around just having this conversation about the Pleiades, because a lot of people, when they say the Pleiadians, you have that one image of like, this is what a Pleiadian looks like. And it's like that Billy Meyer image, right? Yeah. which is actually Pleiadian, which he actually didn't say they were Pleiadians. He said they lived outside the Pleiades and they're called Pleiadians. So yeah. People have this image about what they are. And I keep saying like, dude, these civilizations, these planets, there's so many planets, there's so many stars that you can't just have one group of beings. Like it could be very diverse. So when we say Arcturian Pleiadian, we might be very limiting because it could be multiple beings. So what you're saying kind of touches on that, the metaphor behind this could actually represent that there were multiple civilizations that came from that area that all had an influence on our creation.
I think that's brilliant. I actually never thought of it, and just to add a little thing into the mix, one thing that I received is that those 7 sisters, as they are women, because they might have been like the spearheads of each of these different civilizations, you know what I mean? But they did exist as women or beings. I was shown that they were Black. They were what we would call African American, African, no, literally African, not African American, African, and that they were 7 Black mothers of the world. Now that blew my mind when I actually, received that in ceremony, and I'm like, what? Are you saying that I now have to say that these are 7 Black mothers? But then when you think of it, really, the genetic research of like Luca Cavalli Sforza and even Brian Sykes to some degree, it does all kind of go back to Africa and, that seeding down there in the southern eastern part of Africa and so forth. So like, what are we talking about here? Like this throws into confusion all the whole thing about white, Black, who is it? I mean, if you looked at the Corey Good stuff from Cosmic Disclosure and the drawings that were done of some of those people, there was like a black man who was the leader of the planet that went through some of the stuff we're going through, according to Corey Good. You know, if people adhere to whatever Corey Good's saying, which I did find a lot of it compelling. So, you know, this throws into a positive tizzy all of these things about races and what does race mean? How is it connected to the star systems? You know, can this help us with our racial tension on this planet? Does our racial tension actually go back to these Star Wars, right? Okay. So like, there's so much stuff here. I know we're going in really deep, really broad. We're not going to like get like the linear answers to anything today, but we're going to just make scatter a whole bunch of seeds for people.
So Marguerite, this is how my brain works. So you're saying, okay, the 7 sisters. So now I'm seeing a lineage chart, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like, okay. Now, how does that also interact with the Anunnaki, with the Enkel, Enlil? Because I just spent time going through those charts.
I know.
So how do we connect those? And also, the second thing that comes to me is that, okay, so are you saying our civilizations have evolved from the females, from the sisters, that we're no longer looking to the patriarchal link and the patriarchal God that seeded us, but maybe to the female energies?
Yes.
I have chills.
Yes, that is exactly what I am uncovering. Okay. First of all, the female womb is the key thing. It is the key resource everywhere, and especially on planet Earth. And this is why the abductions have been happening, because they are hijacking this womb thing. And we need to stop this. Okay. We need women to get really aware of their wombs and stop these astral shenanigans in the middle of the night or whenever it's going on. This is BS. Okay.
No, you're right.
So, yes, the female womb and the female creator beings, so to speak, really need to come back into prominence. They are, you know, but we're starting to understand all the complexities of this. You know, it's not just like the great goddess or, you know, Mother Mary or whatever, but like, who are these 7 sisters of the Pleiades? Are they kind of goddesses? Are they women? Who are they? And then to the Anunnaki. Okay. When you hear about the Pleiades, basically cross-culturally, but also in Greece, what do we hear? Basically, at least 3 of them were raped. By whom? You know, Zeus, and, you know, at least one other of these so-called Olympian gods, who I think were the Anunnaki.
Right.
So we already have a problem with these 7 sisters of the Pleiades trying to come to the earth, in that they were raped. And so their seedings have to do with rape seductions that went on by these Anunnaki beings, who may even be Anunnaki reptilian hybrids. That's another whole thing. Like, what's the difference between Anunnaki and reptilian? Because Zeus half the time is shown with a tail, you know what I mean? And so they had problems. Taygete did not want to be raped. She cried out to Artemis to save her from this rape, but ultimately she was. And are these human star seeds products? You know, did they seed in products of the Anunnaki hybrid reptilians? You know, and that could be part of what's going on with why the Pleiades are trying to make up for karma. And they're back here trying to help us, because they know they were in a conundrum that they could not get away from with this whole thing with these rapes. Okay, it is extremely complex. I cannot emphasize this enough, but I can feel the power of you two and the whole 8,000, 10,000 people who have been participating in this. We need to get to the bottom of this and figure it out, because understanding exactly what the heck happened is going to help us in what we need to do to go forward. And yes, it has to do with the womb, and it has to do with a very honored place that the feminine plays and has been dismantled in some basic aspect of the earth history. And that is not to say that the problem is with men. No, the problem is with the male Anunnaki and the male reptilians, who are responsible for all of this and distorting the masculine principle on the earth. Males are just fine. Human men are just fine. It's when they get hybrided and injected with all of this crap that comes from these other domains that we have the problems. This is where we have the aggression. This is where we have the rape. This is where we have the discrediting of the feminine. This is where we have the gender wars. All right.
Right. You know, you're speaking on like a collective trauma that happened, because as you're speaking it, I'm seeing like, okay, there was some sort of wounded masculine energy that existed, right? Whether it was a person, an individual, an ET, or just metaphor of energies. And then there was this divine feminine that came in. The wounded masculine literally raped the divine feminine, take that metaphorically or literally, and creating a collective trauma, giving birth to humanity. And we've been trying to make up that karma ever since. Absolutely.
And let me just tell you, you know, it wasn't just these wounded masculine Anunnaki and reptilians that are responsible for this. What I started receiving years ago, which stunned the heck out of me, was that the reptilian queens were you know, really wounded and problematic, and their relationships with those males was very much a problem. And they would be engaged in pitched combat. Their sexuality was the vagina dentata and the phallic sword. Okay. Where do we get that whole fear of the vagina dentata? Well, the reptilian queens. Where do we get the fear of the phallic sword? The reptilian males. All right. So there's shenanigans that I have channeled that was going on there. And actually the queens were so fierce and they would put up with no crap from these males that they went off to look for where they could get their gratification elsewhere. And they saw, you know, human earth, whatever was going on here already. And they're like, yeah, let's get in on that. Let's just create our whole distortion fields, because they're all about distortion fields. It's the distorted feminine. It's the distorted masculine. All right. It happens to be the distorted masculine Anunnaki and reptilian that came here and created these problems. And yes, so much of what we are has been based in trauma. And that's why the trauma work is really important. But we are going to be transforming out of this. We are throwing this stuff off. We are reconfiguring our own DNA from the inside out. We are releasing, you know, we are getting clear on these stories, and we are releasing these timelines, etc.
I'm just taken aback already by some of the information you're bringing through. So initially, though, I'm hearing, like I heard someone discuss the other day, that the gods did not mean us to suffer so here on the planet, that something got out of balance in our timelines. And
yeah, the gods didn't. The gods didn't. It's these other dimensional beings who did. They did mean to cause harm because they get food out of harm.
Right.
They get food out of negative emotion. And because humans are very emotional, they're like, yeah, let's go there and we'll have a lot of food, etc.
Right. The humans are great food. And that's what we're beginning to find out.
Right.
Yeah, right. In some ways we have been. So tell us, let's switch a little bit gears for a minute so we can settle in now. So I have 7 women and 7 lineages. Is Mother Mary one of those 7 sisters, or Mother Mary of one of those lineages? Like, what is our Mother Mary story then?
So what I get is that the Mother Mary is, she's holographic. So she has presences in the Pleiades, in the Syrians, in the Andromedans, and so forth. She's so big. She's bigger than any one of those because of what she accomplished, all right, as a soul being. She ascended to full goddesshood. So all of that is under her umbrella, okay? Like those images that you've seen in, you know, paintings by, you know, old painters where Mother Mary and then all the people are under her skirt kind of thing. That's kind of how it is. So you can get a Pleiadian Mary. You can get a Syrian Mary, you can get an Andromedan Mary, and goodness knows where else. Because it's holographic, so she can weave through all of those places. And you get specific medicine by connecting with Pleiadian Mary. You get specific medicine by connecting with Syrian Mary, et cetera, okay? And then you can just deal with her, you know, in her big fullness which is just one of these major, major beings. To call her, I mean, she is a goddess. She is goddess. She is connected. She is one and the same, although she has her own personality as Mother Mary. So that's as far as I can go with that. I mean, I would have to go into like a deeper channeling to see really what more we could say about the connection with Mary to these 7 sisters and these 7 star seeds and so forth.
So let's go ahead, Joan, you wanted to.
No, you go, Neil.
Okay, so I want to go a little deeper into something else that within the virgin births. And I have a question here from, the questions from your media kit, but I have something to tie into that. So let's see if I can piece this together here. What was it? In your book, you say that Mary was not alone in her practice of virgin birth, right? So who else did this kind of thing? And then my addition to that question is that could this have happened? Okay, this happened over and over again. There's some people that think, Jesus never existed. So the whole Mary story isn't true at all either. So from your research and you're like just tuning into this, what do you feel in regards to that? Could that be a metaphor? Could there have been an original story that was just like rewritten and written and written over and over? Or do you really think that this happened, continuously? And was Mary an actual real person, or maybe just an older story recycled?
Right. I mean, these are definitely deep, complex issues. I think it depends on how you work with it and what reality you want to be in around it, because you'll get medicine from that reality. I'm working with the reality and the timeline that Mother Mary was a real being whose last incarnation on the earth was as Mary, and that she from there ascended to full goddesshood, but she had had many lives before that she did walk the earth, that Jesus walked the earth, that her mother Anne gave birth to her divinely, okay, because this was a technology that these women knew. And what unites her with the 7 sisters of the Pleiades is they had that technology as well. They knew how to do divine birth, but divine birth can be interrupted. The process of the conception can be interrupted by the presence of a hostile male being coming into your space and basically rape seducing you at the last minute and impregnating you, which is what happened with the 7 sisters of the Pleiades and other stories in the Greek tradition, which basically are telling us histories. Mother Mary was able to get by all of that. She was able to truly become the androgyne, the whole in and of herself, and conceive this divine being Jesus as a means of avoiding karma, avoiding any male lineages, et cetera,
Wow.
bringing this star being in, boom, there he is. He's walking the planet. It's his first lifetime, and he's operating.
So
okay?
what would the conception of Jesus have looked like then? What was the process around that?
All right. So first of all, Mother Mary herself was born of her mother in this way. This was a lineage of women who knew how to do this. Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist, same deal. They were in the same family. And it turns out that you find out in the Islamic tradition, Anne and Elizabeth were actually sisters. Okay. So right. And they go all the way back to Sarah, the mother of the divinely born Isaac. So this lineage was going on in the Jewish, the Hebrew tradition. Okay. So, so getting back to the technology of it. All right. So Mother Mary, the way it's done is through an incredibly high level of consciousness that's working with the light matter interface and the bodily womb and DNA at incredible levels. All right. So if you think all of this, David Wilcock, whiz bang, technology stuff out there is interesting, take a look at this. All right. Just take a look. What it requires to have a woman at that level. We are talking about beyond the beyond. All right. These are the highest of high priestesses. And so they know how to work the womb technologies, the womb magic. And what does it involve? Light, sound, consciousness, toning, possibly sacred medicines, etc. There's, lists of things that I find these little wisps of hints about in Mother Mary's repressed gospel, called the Infancy Gospel of James, that point us in little directions as to what she might have been doing. That whole idea that she was weaving when she conceived Jesus. Well, that's probably talking about some kind of quantum activity with her DNA, the matter spirit interface, right? That's about, you know, as far as I've gotten. I mean, we could channel on deeper and deeper levels. And so divine birth was one aspect of these womb technologies. High Tantra was another aspect of these womb technologies. So there was the woman, the sovereign woman, who was able to become the male, female, and give birth. Boom, that's Mary. That's her mother, Anne. That's Elizabeth, mother of John the Baptist. That's Sarah, mother of Isaac, and others around the world. You know, the mother of the peacemaker in the Haudenosaunee tradition, etc. And then there is the High Tantra, okay, which can bring in some other types of beings and so forth. The Egyptian queen pharaoh connection is a little bit related to this, but I think there were some distortions that were also going on there. Anyway, so that's just to give you a little bit of a glimpse of that, you know, I don't have all the answers either. You know, this is a collective reconstruction, right? There are women that I know who come to me and they're all excited and they're like starting to do this work on their own. They're trying to figure it out. Because I was shown when I started doing this work, you know, what now in, you know, it really was starting to come to me in 2003-ish. No, really 2001. So however many, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, that it would take about 35 years before we had all the codes back on the planet for this to be able to be done again. And thank goddess, because we do not want these codes back running rampant right now on a planet that is like crazed and not together, you know, because as it is, we know that these codes have been hijacked. Right. They've been hijacked most likely by the Illuminati. I'll just state it right out there, okay? Because enough of this crap. We've got to get hip to what's going on and how this negative hybriding is happening on the planet. How do you think we're walking around with all these weirdo shapeshifters who, you know, are this and that and really this being instead? Well, hijacking, you know, what is all this gray alien stuff? And now, you know, all of these people who are basically hybrided gray aliens. Okay, this is the hijacking of divine birth. And then we're told, no, it's not really real. It didn't happen. It's metaphorical. Really? Tell me it's metaphorical, you know, when you run smack into one of these beings.
Right. And we lose our sovereignty.
Yeah. Because they're so manipulative that they make us want to lose our sovereignty. And with all of the shenanigans that they're pulling right now, with making everybody terrified of their own immune system, for goodness sake, it's ridiculous.
Well, which totally strips away any of our divine powers or any of our divine.
That's right.
Can women today, all right, so say women like you're teaching in your 7 mysteries, your 7 sisters school, your mystery school. Are you teaching ways to restore your divine feminine gifts and even
yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that then.
Well, you know, I would say one of the most practical things that I teach is the Holy Womb Chakra teachings, which I've been certified to teach through, you know, the lineage of Sri Kaleshwar and Sai Baba. And that has to do with a whole ancient practice of mantras or sacred prayers and yantras, sacred drawings, that Sri Kaleshwar discovered in the ancient palm leaf manuscripts of India and beyond. He was given and attracted to him all of these ancient palm leaf drawings and things on literal palm leaves, okay, that show the technology of how to work with this mantra practice to get your womb purified and get it empowered. And I mean, it goes so deep in so many directions. The Holy Womb Chakra teachings is just the beginning. But it also enables people to have a divine conception when they are in sexual union, male, female. Okay. So, you know, I work with people in that way. And I think that future generations are going to have to connect the dots between that and the divine birth technologies and the divine birth material. You know, I'm starting to bring people to the shore from which they can, because of my own karma with this whole thing, apparently, from which they're going to take it out further.
You're teaching people then how to have sacred conceptions.
Well, through those, as much as I can through the Holy Womb Chakra teachings, a divine conception with a male female, okay? There's ... ellipses, you know, to be filled in the blanks information on how to do any of this other stuff.
Right.
And there may well be lineages, even unbroken ones, walking around on the planet who just have kept this beyond secret.
So why do you think this information has been hidden until now? What's going on the planet in this moment that is making this come out, in your opinion?
Timing, divine timing. We're all here. We all knew that this was going to be the big showdown time, and all the wraps were going to come off everything. And divine birth and Holy Womb Tantra has to be one of them. In order for the whole healing to happen, the whole picture to happen, you know, this is not just going to be by doing these, you know, spaceships that are running around, or right, all these technologies of whatever, you know, replicators and whatnot, the things that people get into. This is the female aspect of that. We've got to balance all of this stuff coming. You know, Tesla, he was great, but my God, you know, we need a female Tesla with all of these, you know, these other kinds of technologies to have the balance if we're going to restore this planet. And it's not just about restoring the planet, but when you restore the womb, you restore the whole hologram up to the whole Mother Divine, Holy Womb, Sophia creation of all reality. You know what I mean? So this is deep. And this goes out and out and out into the hologram. And that's why, you know, all the beings are looking at us eating their popcorn, watching, you know, okay, what are humans going to do here? Right.
So
I mean, it is big time. So this is just one of the many revelations that needs to happen at this time. And we all converge. We're like, we're coming in now.
That's so funny you said eating their popcorn, because I often say, like, we're like the biggest light show in the universe. And I say that in a really non-arrogant way, because I'm just saying that so many civilizations have donated their DNA or their consciousness, or have incarnated into our bodies, or all of the above, to have this earthly experience, you know, and we're like a library of galactic DNA. And so it's not like, oh yeah, these guys are so awesome, they make cool TV shows, let's watch them. It's more like we have an invested interest in them. We are their ancestors and they are our ancestors, because that's how time works, you know.
That's right. That's right. And the DNA or whatever energy strands are like strings that when they get plucked here, they get plucked over there. You know, it's all holographically connected. It's nothing is separate. So they're like, holy crap, you guys, you know, like, do it right.
And just to back what you just set up a little more, is when you study harmonics and octaves, it's now commonly accepted that when you hit an octave within a certain frequency range, that all the octaves that are non-audible also get triggered, right?
Yes.
So what that means is, because you go octave, 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 and then you're eventually at source. So literally just vibrating something in this reality strums every dimensional reality like a violin all the way up to the original source, which to me is like a feedback mechanism for experience, because everything vibrates, everything's octaves. It's like the way we communicate data.
That's right. And people are just starting to, not some have gotten this for a long time, but many of us are just starting to open our awareness and be able to see in that kind of fifth dimensional way that you're talking about. I mean, it's trippy, you know, it's hard to even describe in words, but you will have a sense of knowing about it. That's what's happening. That's what the new earth is. You know, we're like, whoa, wow, boom, gosh, whoo, you know, suddenly you're understanding all of these things. You don't even know how you're understanding it, but you're tuning in, or you're being plucked. These parts of yourself are being plucked and resonating.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this, what does this mean for all of us women across the planet? Do we have these gifts that are just residual in here, or like, what does all this mean? How can we discover our own power then? So rise up
there. It's our time. It's our time to really open consciousness to the womb. and do the clearings, then the healings of the womb, the reclamation of the womb, practicing on all sorts of different levels, all of these different womb technologies, you know, from the simplest to the high priestess, tantra, and divine birth. But even those of us who are working in the householder way to bring in children, you can bring in higher vibrational children through an awareness of your womb, through the purification of your womb, through the practices that can help bring in a higher dimensional being that really can bring some more gifting to the planet. Women are the gatekeepers. They're the ones who are bringing in the beings, right? And so we need to call in these great beings to ourselves. I mean, a lot of it is happening spontaneously, but imagine if women put their consciousness into focusing on, we're going to bring in these major, massive beings, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to say no to any of these other abductions and interferences and tamperings and whatnot. Can you imagine?
Right.
And seal it all up and bring in what we know, make that sieve only available to the fine souls that need to come on the planet. There's a lot of work and play to be done in this regard.
There's a question here. I just want to ask this question because it ties into what you just said, Joan.
Okay.
Somebody just asked in the room, what if you have a hysterectomy or no womb?
You can still work with the Holy Womb Chakra teachings because you have the energetic presence of the womb, and you have your Nada Bindu point, which is a sacred point in your body about 1.5 inches below your navel that moves, that connects you. That point connects you with throughout the hologram of all wombs, all the way up to Divine Mother's womb. And men have it too. So it doesn't matter what gender you were born in, you can take and do the Holy Womb Chakra teachings and you will benefit from them. All right. So it doesn't matter whether you've had a hysterectomy in terms of you being able to re-empower and clear your womb and use it in other ways. Maybe you won't be conceiving, or maybe you will. I mean, my gosh, I had a woman come to me a few months ago who told me these unbelievable stories. She basically had no ovaries and she was conceiving children. I mean, it was like, she has 9 kids. Okay. I mean, these are the things, it boggles the mind. So there are many great mysteries. There's much that we can do with our holy wombs. And that goes across every possible sex or gender that we have here on the planet.
I love it. I think our time's almost up, but I have one comment on this, which is that honestly, one of the takeaways is as women, we need to purify our wombs from this life, past life, future lives, all those generations. We need to do that ancestral clearing of all the times our wombs have been abused and misused.
That's right.
And I can hear that collective trauma. But I don't know, Neil, do we have a few more minutes? Or
Yeah, we do.
Okay, we have a few more minutes. So how can people engage with you, Marguerite?
All righty. Well, you can go to 7sistersmysteryschool.com, and the 7 is written out SEVEN. And there are many, many offerings there. There are free offerings. There are audios, videos, blog posts, articles. And then I have what's coming up, what is presently being offered, which I think will be fabulous for people, is my Mother Mary Love and Empowerment Circle, my monthly Mother Mary Love and Empowerment Circle. It's really inexpensive. And every month on the 3rd Thursday of each month, we meet for an hour and a half. I do a guided meditation with Mother Mary as the inspiration. And then we engage in what I call cosmic Q&A, or the oracle space, channeling answers to people's cosmic global questions, inspired again by Mother Mary. We come to the place of peace. We come to the place of trust. We come to the place of love. We come to the place of bridging, and compassion, all of which we need right now in this time of bifurcation. We rise above the bifurcation, we get fortified, and we go off for the next month. So I really highly, if people go under, I think, programs or courses, it's the first one, and it's all over the homepage as well. And, just go around, play, have fun. You'll see many things. I've got a fairy course and a level 1 oracle training if you want to train yourself to become that oracle. So many, many things. Yeah. Thank you for that opportunity to let people know.
Marguerite, thank you. Alan's here. Alan, did you hear any at all?
I did hear some of it. I want to hear the whole replay, but you know, the womb is the sacred gateway into this dimension. I mean, that's why it's holy, because there's nothing else that can bring the human into incarnational form except the holy womb, and they're holy for all women because it is the kind of cauldron of life. So thank you for everything you've said.
You're welcome. Blessed be. And you know, these negative high frequency beings know that as well. They can't do anything without the womb. They can make clones. They can do all the tech replication they want, but they cannot create an ensouled being.
That's right. That's why they want us.
The ensouled
They
being.
cannot create an ensouled being. And that's why all these gray aliens are on here, because they want ensoulment again. And so they're tampering and da-da-da, and what percentage of alien DNA and what percentage of human do they absolutely have to tolerate in order to get ensouled again? Okay. Only the womb can create the ensoulment. And that is on every level of the hologram. Okay. That's why those gods were raping those female goddesses. All right. Because they knew. That's why Zeus was playing all these shenanigans, that Anunnaki guy, you know, with birthing Athena through him.
I think JJ and Desiree also kind of, Desiree, you want to just jump in on that about the ensoulment of the human being, the Adamic race, all that. Can you talk about that?
I think it's very important because a lot of people talk about, you know, what we're supposed to do for the planet. We don't realize that we're actually higher souls that are here on the planet really at this time, because this is a very big transition time for the planetary system. I always say that's why we're getting to be 8 billion people. You imagine how many people want to come to this planet right now? So, and it's really our souls coming and manifesting and experiencing this great change.
Yes, it be.
There's a big roadmap. We need to have careful understandings of all the different levels, because one size doesn't fit everything. And that's the problem with the classical ufologists. They want to put things in basic categories, and we're dealing with soul force fields that are very, should we say, transcendental in all respects.
Oh,
and we're dealing with the sacredness of the human being. We are these divine beings coming through the sacred passageway. That's why it's so great the work you're doing here, Marguerite. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, boy.
It's been, do you know the work of the Hertogs, JJ and Desiree Hertog?
No, but hello, I'm so happy to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It's great to hear.
They are doing the same kind of holy divine work. They are bringing in the divine awareness through their books. Well, Keys of Enoch, Book of Knowledge. I'm sure you've heard of that book. Have you?
Yes,
heard?
yes. Oh, goodness. Okay.
That's Dr. Hertog. And Desiree, they write books together, and they are the divine union right there. Desiree and JJ.
Wow. Okay.
So
Wonderful.
thank you, Marguerite. Marguerite, I got to just say one more time that I'm like really excited just to connect with you. You have a presence about you that is just immediately just like intriguing and makes you want to sit by like a fire and listen to the words that you say, you know. But I love the fact that you have so much to share, and just connecting with you today has really been amazing. So we're going to do a webinar pretty soon in November, so I'll share that with everybody after the event today. Appreciate
All right.
you.
Thank you so much, Neil. I so appreciate being here. Thank you, Joan, and everybody. Really, it's been great.
Marguerite, you actually blew my mind with some of what you had to say. You actually put some of the missing pieces together for me, and I'm sure you did it for our fans in our gathering today also.
Well, it's a collective reconstruction that we're involved in. You know, we're just stimulating each other so that we can get all the puzzle pieces together.
Amazing.
Great,
Thank you
great.
so
What's
much.
your website again, Marguerite? Where are you?
7sistersmysteryschool.com, and the 7 is written out, SEVEN.
And where are you located? Which part of the world?
Me physically,
Yeah.
northeastern United States.
Okay.
Western Massachusetts.
Okay, great. Now we know how to find you.
I just
Great.
don't want any, you know, beams coming down. And, although
I know, right?
they can find me if they want. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm in Western Massachusetts. So, and I'm eager to meet like-minded soul pod people, because we need each other right now. I have been finding networks, and we need more of them. So, you know, write to us at dove@sevensistersofferings.com if you are one of those people in Western Mass or the surrounding area and you want to connect. We are creating networks.
Great.
Appreciate you,
Thanks.
Marguerite. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay,
Goodbye.
bye.
We